Just want to expand further on US foreign policy. Trump has brought up talks with Russia, which has led to certain sections of both the left and the right heralding Trump as an anti-war and protectionist. Yet what is often overlooked is the sentiment that's been expressed by the US Secretary of Defense in a recent NATO speech where he called for an increase in military spending from 2% to 5%, claiming, and I quote, increasing your commitment to your own security is a down payment for the future and a down payment of peace through strength. So I was wondering if you could unpack that for us and where you think Trump is actually positioning the US in terms of geopolitical alignment.
Yeah, so first of all, it does appear that he wants peace with Russia. I think that's in earnest. I think he does want to wind down the Ukraine war, which I think he did see as Biden's fault. He's said that. He thinks it's Biden's fault and Zelensky's fault. He thinks it never should have happened. And I think he thinks it's a big waste of blood and treasure. So that's a positive thing. I think, though, that it may be a matter of prioritization. I think the Republican Party is more exercised about China than about Russia. I think they want to focus all of the U.S. empire's wrath upon China, which they see as the big threat, not as a military threat, though they claim that to the public to get them to gin up anti-Chinese sentiment. But it's an economic threat. The U.S. cannot compete with China. So it wants to militarily confront it because that's where it thinks it can win. It does not think it can win economically or technologically. So I think it may be a matter of priority over Russia. And in West Asia, I think there's a huge question mark what he's going to do. It does appear he was instrumental in getting the ceasefire in Gaza, which again is welcome. Every day of that ceasefire saves lives. So, I mean, you have to welcome that. But then, of course, then he goes on to say the U.S. is going to take over Gaza and kick out all the Palestinians and turn it into a giant resort. So, though he's backed off that statement a little bit. So, what are his intentions there? We don't know for sure, but I think certainly if he follows through at all with this intention to kick out the Palestinians of Gaza, he will create a regional war. Egypt will get involved, Jordan will get involved. Even Saudi Arabia has said it will make up for any aid that Jordan and Egypt loses if they go to war over that. So it remains to be seen whether he truly is a peacemaker. I mean, I fear again that he is not, and he's just going to make war in other places. Again, though, some of that remains to be seen, and some of it I'd like to think, and I assume this is why you have your show, I'd like to think is up to the American people, right? I mean, that we need to hold our government accountable for these things. I do think the American people don't want these wars. I do think a lot of people who voted for Trump thought they were voting for him because he said he was going to end the wars. And I just hope that when the day most likely comes that he isn't ending those wars, that people are willing to protest and to fight for their principles in wanting to end these wars. Now, there is one interesting thing. I mean, the one thing he did tell the Defense Department is to come up with a plan to cut the budget of the Defense Department by 8% every year for the next 5 years, which I think would ultimately be a budget cut of 35%. That would be huge, right? And he's also talked about trying to negotiate with China and Russia over cutting defense spending by maybe 50%. Of course, the U.S. spends so much more than all countries combined that even a 50% cut will put it way above everyone else, but that would be a start. So again, we'll see. I mean, the thing with Trump is he's all over the place and he contradicts himself. So we just can't know for sure what his plans are. But I think that one certainly has to be skeptical.
Part of my skepticism is because Elon Musk, we know Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. I actually do not know how many corporations or industries they have, but they have huge parts of that are in the war machine. Considering how much we're seeing of Elon, I'm somewhat skeptical that it would mean, he would have to cut back or funding to him might be cut off, say. So that's like another one of those contradictions, I think, about Trump.
Yeah, and even amongst the people he put in office, like if you look like at a Tulsi Gabbard, who has been good on Syria, good on Russia, she's also a real diehard Zionist. Same thing with RFK Jr. Everyone he has appointed are hardcore Zionists, and Trump's a hardcore Zionist. And his son-in-law is a hardcore Zionist, who I think he listens to a lot about Israel. So I can't imagine him backing off on Israel in any kind of way. And look at what Israel's doing right now in the West Bank. It is attacking the West Bank in a way that it never has. It's actually being engaging in aerial bombardments of the West Bank, which was almost unheard of before. I mean, because they have to bomb around Israeli settlements, right? But they're doing it. They're engaged in probably the most aggressive operations in the West Bank they've ever engaged in. Even in Ramallah, which is known as the bubble in Palestine. In fact, a lot of my friends say, I'll say, hey, how you doing? You know, and they're, oh, we're fine. Well, we live in the bubble. Well, that bubble is popping. Israel's popping that bubble. No place is off limits now. And again, Trump is fully supporting that. Also, he has sent those 2,000-pound bombs to Israel, which was the one thing Biden started denying Netanyahu. What are those going to be used for, and where are they going to be used? Again, it's a matter of where are they going to be waging war, not so much whether they're going to be waging war. And I do think people can't be complacent that oh, we can relax because Trump's going to end the war machine. I mean, that would be silly. I mean, even if, like it'd be great too if he cuts down on U.S. military bases in the world. And of course, I support that and want that. But I think wars are going to be fought differently than they have been in the future. We just may not need that sort of presence like we have at the moment. So again, I think you will have a big retooling of what the U.S. military is. And that's where, again, Elon Musk may be important. AI may be used a lot more, and cyber attacks and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think there's things happening at a breakneck pace that we need to certainly keep our eyes on.